Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to r/MaliciousCompliance, where rude people often get exactly what they ask for because they deserve it, and not in a good way. Guys, I hope the day is going well, and if not, maybe these stories will bring a smile to your face. Maybe Steve-O will bring a smile to your face, because I know a lot of you guys love that guy for some reason. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoy the stories today, and do remember to hit that subscribe button for future tales. We're diving in, guys. I'm sorry, Steve-O. Years ago, I worked for the big Canadian coffee and donut shop, mostly working the evening shift. If you aren't familiar with Canadian brand coffee shop, the cream and sugar are dispensed by a machine that's calibrated to an amount determined by corporate. Now, if you're used to ordering at the fancy green place or the running donut place, the number of sugars and creams you order may need to change depending on how much you actually want. So one night, we had these 3 bikers drive in. You could tell they'd been on the road for a while. Their ringleader was your stereotypical biker. Tall, wide shoulders, big beard, covered in leather. His friends were shorter, but otherwise still had the whole tough but tired look going on. My coworker was in the back working soup and sandwich, but it's only 3 people, and it's been a slow night, so no worries. Just need to get these tired boys some caffeine and wish them a good night. So the ringleader steps up to me and says, "I want an extra large, 12 and 12. Now, for all of you who aren't coffee drinkers, 12 and 12 is 12 cream and 12 sugar. The regular cup of joe is usually 1 and 1. The guy is basically asking for a cup full of cream and sugar with a splash of coffee. Now, I did try to confirm asking him if he was sure, but he interrupted me and said, "Did I stutter?" I tried telling him again and said, "Okay, but that's only..." Now with this, his friend interrupts and says, "Did he stutter?" I replied, No, he didn't. So I went off and made him exactly what he asked for. I grabbed a cup, put it under the sugar dispenser while I pressed the ×3 button 4 times. 12 extra large shots of sugar. Then I went to the cream dispenser and did the exact same thing. Now here's a fun fact. The cream and sugars are measured to dispense 1/12 of the cup size you're selecting. So by the time all 12 shots of creamer were dispensed, the cup was basically full. So I then stirred the creamy sugar mixture around before I poured an itty-bitty splash of coffee in his cup, just enough to bring it to the safety line on the cup. Now with this, I tried asking if he wanted me to heat it up or anything, but basically I got the same exact runaround from him and his friend. Obviously the guy knew what he wanted and didn't need me to tell him what he was ordering. They grabbed the rest of their order and drove out into the night. Now you would think that that was the end of the story. The big angry biker man got his nasty sugar cream drink and left me sitting there, wondering if the rest of the world had been drinking their coffee wrong the entire time. But no, I was lucky to be working the next afternoon when he came back in. Mr. Ringleader came back in all by himself the next day and shuffles up to the counter. I could tell he must have been embarrassed because his voice was a lot softer this time. He knew he messed up. The glorious aftermath is that he apologized and confirmed that the drink had been utterly disgusting. It turns out that he was used to ordering from the fancy green coffee place and they use way smaller measurements for their cream and sugar. So once I knew where he was used to ordering from, I made him the approximately same drink using our measurements, roughly a triple, and sent him on his way. I only wish I could have seen his face when he took that first sip. Guys, you know what? At least the guy came back to apologize for his mistake, and he didn't leave OP wondering for the rest of her life if some people actually enjoyed the cup of cream and sugar with a splash of coffee. But honestly, with the attitude that him and his buddy pulled there, he almost deserved that cup of cream that night. It sounds absolutely disgusting. When I was commissioned into the Air Force, the officer who conducted my ceremony was a female 3-star general. She looked like your typical short, fit, friendly middle-aged soccer mom, which is relevant to the story. She was extremely nice and personable. At breakfast, we were sharing a table, and she and my dad, who was a lieutenant colonel at the time, were talking. So the general tells a story of when she first showed up to a new base for her first posting as a 3-star. While running on the track, a guy comes up to her and starts running alongside of her, asking her if she'd just gotten there, etc., etc. It quickly becomes very obvious that he's hitting on her, so she turns him down and mentions that she has a husband. Now with this, the guy is not deterred. He keeps hitting on her. The man goes right on talking about how in shape she is, how good looking she is, how they should be together, etc., etc. And also asking questions like, well, is your husband at the base yet? Are you staying by yourself in TLF? TLF being a fancy sort of hotel. Now, the guy literally thinks that she's a spouse and figures that she showed up to get the home in order before her husband arrives on base. Now, the guy was really adamant that she hang out with him in her hotel room. Now, here's the thing. The guy would not leave her alone until she agrees to a date. The guy keeps pestering her for an uncomfortably long time. Finally, after about 15 minutes of her refusing to go on a date with him, and him refusing to stop badgering her, she relents and agrees to meet up with him again. She says, "Fine, I'll free up some time and we can talk. What's your name and your number?" The harasser gives her his name and phone number. He's a staff sergeant, many rungs down in the organization that she's now vice commander of. Later that day, he was ordered to report to her office in service dress at 7:30 in the morning, along with his supervisor, his first sergeant, and his commander. So basically his boss, his other boss, and his boss's boss's boss. She didn't say how the meeting went, but I doubt he enjoyed his first and last date with her. My friends, I would have paid money to see the look on the guy's face when he showed up and saw her. Now guys, I'm assuming that staff sergeants don't usually get called into meetings with 3 stars without a really good reason. And his commander would have wanted to know what the reason was beforehand. Like, holy crap-oly. I think it's safe to say that they probably tore the guy a new one for that. But he totally deserved it though. So this happened a few months ago to a friend of mine. A little bit of background. My friend is a mix of white and Mexican with very pale skin. He usually gets mistaken for a white male. His dad also owns a Mexican restaurant. So to start, around 3 p.m., these guys walk into the restaurant. My friend was working the register and he greets them. They look at him with disgust and start speaking to each other in Spanish. The guys start going on and on about how he was too white to be working there and how he knows nothing about Mexican food. After they finish their rant, the following conversation goes like this. My friend says, "Hi, welcome to the restaurant. Can I take your order?" Guy number 1 says, "Yeah, we want to try your nuclear tacos challenge, and make sure it's extra spicy." Now I want to note that this is basically a challenge where you have to finish 3 spicy tacos in 5 minutes. So with that, guy number 2 laughs and in Spanish says, "This idiot probably thinks extra spicy is ketchup. We'll have no problem finishing this." So with that, my friend smiles and goes to the back to put their order in, while handing each of the guys waivers and pointing them to a table. So cue the malicious compliance. My friend goes to the back to put in the order and he says, "Well guys, we have another one. Make sure it's extra spicy. The guy asked for it." Now he says that with an evil smile. My friend grins from ear to ear while they make the tacos. He then watches them put on the special sauce made specifically for rude people like this. He then happily walks out of the kitchen and places the food on the table in front of them. My friend then asks to take a video and a before and after photo, which they happily agree to. My friend takes the before photo and sets up the camera in front of them, making sure it was connected to all the TVs in the restaurant so everybody can watch the people do the challenge. My friend then reads them the rules. No drinking anything before time is up. Finish all 3 tacos, no giving away food, and you have 5 minutes to complete the challenge. If you win, your meal is free and you win an I Beat the Nuclear Challenge t-shirt. You also get a photo on the winner's wall and a free meal with the next visit. My friend then goes to the speaker and announces, "Everybody listen up. Guy 1 and Guy 2 are attempting the nuclear challenge. Any words you'd like to say before we begin?" Guy number 1 says, "This is gonna be a walk in the park." And guy number 2 says, "Yeah, this doesn't even look like a challenge." So my friend then says, "Let the challenge begin." My friend then starts the timer and smiles as the men laugh and joke at each other before taking the first bite. Now immediately after chewing the first bite, the guy number 1 turns beet red, and guy number 2 looked like he was about to vomit. Both men tapped out before finishing the first taco. Friend number 1 comes over and wants to take their after picture. Guy number 1 says, "I want to speak to your manager right now. We know the owner. I'm gonna get you fired." Guy number 2 says, "Yeah, no one can finish that. This place is a scam. Are you trying to kill us?" So my friend then goes to get his dad and brings him over to the men. Dad says, "What seems to be the problem, sir?" Guy 1 says, "Your employee is trying to kill us. I demand a refund." My dad tells him, "Sorry to hear that, but what did you order?" Guy number 2 says, "We ordered the nuclear taco challenge and it almost killed us." Dad says, "I'm sorry, but the waiver clearly states that we can't get sued and we don't have to reimburse you if something happens during the challenge." Guy 1 continues on and says, "We can and we will sue you. I want to talk to the owner." Dad then says, "I am the owner." Now, my friend was watching from the register and could barely hold in his laughter. Both guys walk out while screaming profanities at Dad and my friend. So the fallout, the guys did try to sue, but nothing came of it. Surprisingly enough, more people were interested in the challenge after their performance, and Friend made sure to give everybody the actual sauce for the challenge. Me and my friends still laugh at the video to this day. My friends, I love this story. I love when people get what they deserve. Opie should have served up the tacos and said in Spanish, "This should be a lot hotter than ketchup. Enjoy." Now, kids are awesome at malicious compliance, but it's also a two-way street. Now, my kids can be picky eaters at times. My wife made some damn good chicken soup, but the kids were complaining that there were veggies in their chicken soup, and they hate veggies. Veggies make them sick, and they wanted my wife to pick them out of the soup. Now, we tried to tell them that good chicken soup needs veggies to taste good, but they were just being stubborn. I'm sure other parents can understand. I told the kids, well, if you hate the taste of veggies, I'll make this soup tomorrow, and you guys can make sure I only put the stuff in that you like. They loved that idea, at the time. The next day, I get a pot filled with water, all the typical soup ingredients out, and gathered the kids. I asked for their approval on every item. Chicken, yes. Salt, yes. Black pepper, no. Celery, no. Onions, no. It went on like that, with them rejecting parsley, bay leaves, and other veggies. The total contents of the pot ended up being chicken, water, salt, and noodles. So after the soup was done cooking, I served it up and they excitedly started to eat. A few funny faces later, and one of them said, "Dad, this tastes weird. It's not very good." I said to him, "But I only put in everything you guys approved. I think from now on that I should make the soup, right?" My kids both looked at each other and said, "Can we have mom's soup instead?" So I then told them that not only are veggies good for you, but they also serve to flavor the soup, to make it taste good as well. So since that day, they haven't complained about finding veggies mixed in the food. Sure, they almost always eat around a carrot or a green pea, but they understand that it adds flavor. My friends, this is 10 out of 10 parenting, Dad. I'm actually very, very impressed. Instead of telling your kids that they need to eat the veggies and have it end there, like the dad actually took his time to actually teach his kids why veggies are necessary. And not only are they good for you, but they do add flavor. So in a previous life, before the world came apart about 5 months ago, I was a solo pastor of a medium-sized church in a largish southern city. One happy side effect of being a solo pastor is that when your phone rings, you answer it, even if you don't recognize the number, since you have no idea how important the call may be. It could be a church member's grandkid, whom you've never met, calling you to tell you that Miss Bessie has been diagnosed with some horrible disease. Or it could be a church member who just wants to talk your ear off for 2 hours. So earlier this evening, my phone rings, and since old habits die hard, I answered it. I said, "Hello?" Now it was a woman's voice, and she says, "Hey, what are you up to?" Now I just want to be clear before I proceed that I don't recognize the lady's voice, but I just assumed that she was a former church member, or member's kid, or grandkid or something, so I was cordial. I told her, not much honestly, I just walked through the door with some food. How about you? She then told me that I'm hanging out with Jessica. I told her, great, but I'm sorry to have to ask this, but to whom am I speaking with? I'm sorry, but I don't recognize your voice and I have no idea who the other girl is. And ladies and gentlemen, apparently that was the wrong thing to say. She says, "Darren, you know who this is. This is Jessie." I tell her, "Well, Miss Jessie, I hate to break it to you, but my name is not Darren, and I don't know any woman named Jessie. I believe you called the wrong phone number." She says, "No, I didn't. This isn't funny, Darren. What happened? Did you leave your ringer on again, and you're worried your wife is gonna hear us talking?" I told her, "Ma'am, I'm very sorry, but I know you got the wrong phone number. I'm not Darren." So she then says, "I want to come over there and tell her all about us and how you've been screwing me behind her back for 2 years. I'm so sick of this." Now cue the malicious compliance. I said, "You know what? That would actually be great. By all means, come to my house, wake my wife up, and tell her all about our sexual affair. It's time we brought things to light." She then says, "I'm leaving now." I told her, "Okay, I'll see you soon." So 5 months ago, I discovered that my wife of 10 years started cheating on me 18 months into our marriage. She racked up a total of 16 affairs in a decade. Somewhere in my immediate area, a man's wife was just awakened by her husband's side piece banging on the front door. And she deserves to know what kind of man she married. I'm sorry, but I just can't be a fly on the wall for a very special episode of the Jerry Springer Show that just started in her driveway. Honestly, guys, I hope she wasn't bluffing and actually went to the dude's house. Cheating is one of the worst things you can do, and for Opie's wife to cheat on him a grand total of 16 times is absolutely terrible. I love this comment right here. She ruined little Danny's birthday party that day. She very well could have. She could have. But you know what? I'd feel terrible because little Danny had nothing to do with this dad's crappy behavior. So this story happened a couple of years ago. I was working on a part-time basis in a small firm owned by my friends. Now the pay wasn't very good, but the atmosphere was, and I was allowed to set my own timings. So life was pretty good overall. Then a friend whom I've known through social media approached me for a job in her company. Even though they were offering good money, I turned down the offer, as I knew I couldn't get the benefits that I was getting in my current job. Plus, the commute to the new office was very long. I would have to travel 2 hours one way and change 3 trains just to reach the office. So a month later, the HR from the new firm approached me again. They offered me almost 4 times the money I was making, and I could set my own work hours. There was also extra pay for working overtime and on weekends, and this was important. I joined the new company. Now, my friend did not know the terms of the new agreement that I had with HR. She used to act like I owed her big time for the opportunity I got. So one day, I corrected her. I told her that I had turned down the offer that she had been a part of, and 1 month later, I had my own negotiations and I got much more favorable terms. I told her so I was here because her company really needed me, and not because of her. Now, I didn't share the details of my agreement with her, but we both realized that she was making significantly less than I was. And this totally changed her attitude towards me. Now she wanted me out, and I was determined to stick it through for at least a year. So then she decides that she would make it very difficult for me to work so that I would quit on my own. There's a lot of stories I have about how she tried every trick in the book to make me quit, and I'm sharing some of them here. She was my manager, and she was in charge of allocating work. So malicious compliance number 1. She starts piling more and more work on me than any other members of the team. I was happy to comply, but she didn't know that a part of my contract I would be paid 1.5 times the hourly rate for every hour I worked overtime, and 2 times the hourly rates if the work was allocated to me over the weekends or holidays. Every time she tried to ruin my weekend by calling me to the office unnecessarily, I happily complied. This continued till the time I left the organization, and I told her how much extra money she had helped me make. Malicious compliance number 2. So after the long commute to work, I used to be hungry, so I developed the habit of stopping at the food court to pick up a glass of fresh fruit juice and carry it with me to work. So my manager thought that this way, she could harass me without actually seeming to do so. So she sent a notice that bringing liquids to the office was a hazard. Ironically, she used to have coffee delivered to her desk 3 times a day. So I pointed out that the rule applied to her as well, and if I couldn't have my juice, she could not have her coffee. Meanwhile, I was happy to sit in the food court, have my glass of fresh fruit juice with some snacks, and then begin my workday half an hour later than usual. You really gotta love it when your manager's petty BS ends up benefiting you in the end. So for those of you who are wondering why OP's manager friend doesn't know her pay, this is the edit. So a common question people have posted is why my manager did not know my pay structure. So I work in India, and here our salary structure is kept strictly confidential. It can be grounds for firing to reveal or ask for someone's salary. Basically, the way the system works is that every new hire negotiates their salary on the basis of their last drawn pay, experience, and qualifications. It's very common for 2 people working on the same level to have vastly different pays. So there you have it, guys, and that brings us to another end of r/malicious compliance. Guys, thank you so much for popping by to hang out with myself and Steve-O-Boy over here. If you guys missed the last episode on the channel, a Karen steals OP's lunch and complains that it's too spicy and that it could have killed her 5-year-old. It's such a crazy story, so check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stevie, post something funny.